Hello, my name is Mackie, and welcome back to another episode of Taking a Stand. This is the final episode of the first stand preview week. We have gone through the narratives, we have gone through the team rankings, we have gone through the player rankings, we have gone through the meta, we have gone through all these things that are coming in to first stand in terms of preparation and all kinds of stuff. But there's one thing left to do, and that is for me to do my predictions on every single game of First Stand 2026. Since Riot cannot have the time or the resources to do like what they're done in MSI, what they're done in Worlds, like do a predictor and then you win the predictor and then you get free skins and all kind of stuff and emotes. So they did that for Worlds and MSI, but not for First Stand. And maybe it's not the most prestigious tournament in the world, I understand, but when you have a tournament that has like domination and then best of fives and then a knockout stage and have two LCK and LPL teams, I feel like it's a legit tournament. I don't care what many people said. It's a Riot-based tournament, so I believe that Riot should just make this tournament as big as it is. It doesn't have to be big as MSI, although you can see the arena and all kinds of stuff, but just make it legit, okay? Just make it legit. All right? That's my 2 cents. And now then, if you are able to read the statement that I brought to you, I've decided to make a pledge myself. I could have just called it a disclaimer, but that would be like a different meaning, of course. So I decided to make a pledge on this channel. And it goes like this. This channel is and will be a 100% free of gambling ads and sponsors that may be suspicious to anyone, including myself. Some of these segments may involve the use of said sponsors, but I will not be sponsored by any company ever. If I betray this, I will be a douchebag and will be miserable for the rest of my life. Thank you, enjoy your life. Now, what does that pledge simply mean? It means that this channel is 100% free of any bogus advertisements that just want to throw in my face and all kinds of stuff. This channel is 100% League of Legends worthy. And if anyone want to sponsor this channel, I know I don't have the monetization and all this kind of stuff yet because I don't have the required number to get monetization or sponsors. But when I do, you better hit me up and I'm going to make sure that the product is going to be useful. The product is going to be affordable for people after when seeing this channel, and the product is going to help my channel mostly because I wanted to help you help me. This kind of stuff. And I want to make sure that this channel is purely on League of Legends and all kind of stuff. I will talk about other stuff that is related to League of Legends, all the kind of stuff, but I wanted to get this purely League of Legends 100%. So that's my commitment to you. And as we've seen from across all the sports and pretty much in life right now, that we have seen gambling ads being shoved up to people's faces, left, right, center, up and down, all around, all the kind of stuff. From DraftKings to DraftKings, FanDuel, all this kind of betting stuff, and now it sees prediction markets like your poly market, your Kelshe's, of course, in this world. And understandable at this case is that esports needs the money. They are desperate. They are absolutely desperate. It is either that or the Saudis, although you can say that both are kind of true. And while many people, including, of course, Last Free Nation and other channels, decided to use up the poly markets and all the other gambling sponsors to make their money and all kinds of stuff, your Thunder picks and all kinds of stuff, I decided that I wanted to make this pure League of Legends, 100% of it. And if you notice the second to last line, if I betray this pledge, I will become a douchebag. And I'll be miserable for the rest of my life. And I do not want it to be like Judas, betraying Jesus, of course. And then, of course, If you betray him, you will hear the crow 3 times, and I just hear the crow, of course, outside. So I will not be like Judas. I will not sell my entire soul for the purpose of just propping up sponsors that will be suspicious and ruin people's life. We have seen right now the implications of what match fixing has done to the LPL, to so many different places, including Tier 2 League of Legends, and we get it that gambling sponsors have to be in this space because the desperation for money is there. But for this channel and this channel only, I wanted to make sure that this is purely about League of Legends and just no sponsor at all. I get it. I get it. It's not going to make you the ton of money, and it's not going to make you popular like your David Shynocks or your Jamadas or your Kajos of the world. I get it. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that I be grounded, be humble in my roots as a Jamaican, by the way, and wanted to focus more on League of Legends. So, Akeem, why do you have to say all those things? Why the pledge? Of course, it's not like there is a major situation that's going to affect the game in more ways than one. Oh, my sweet child of mine, of course, to quote a Guns N' Roses song, by the way. We have some big news from Riot Games, by the way. In fact, Riot Brazil posted this just a couple of hours ago, or just you say that, let's just say just today. This is all in Portuguese. I'm just trying to, Englishify this thing. In fact, this came out 3 days ago. So this came out 3 days ago, and it just came out on the Reddit post a couple of, I think today, it came out on Reddit, came out of Reddit post. So let me just see if I can translate this to English, and let's see. Let's see if it can translate to English. Let me just see. Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to read this entire statement, of course, and I'm going to get my thoughts. I will get to like one person's thoughts, and then I get to my thoughts. Okay. Hello, Brazil. And by the way, there's an update, of course. So it says, as started today, some players may see a request to verify their age when logging into their Riot account. And by the way, this is for Brazil only, but it could have a repercussion from like other countries, of course. But I digress. This is part of our efforts to comply with the age verification and parental control requirements of the Statute of Children and Adolescents (ECA), which come into effect on Tuesday, March 17, 2026. I recorded this on the 13th of March, the Friday the 13th, by the way, on this. So it's 4 days away from that implied, of course. The mandatory implementation will begin with players age 18 and older on Monday, March 16th, followed by changes for players under 18 on Wednesday, March 18th. So they'll do that. Okay, sorry. So what is happening? On Monday, March 16, 2026, players aged 18 and older will need to go through an age verification process to ensure they meet the minimum age requirement for our games. Some players may have already received an age verification request previously. So you notice, by the way. Anyways, sorry for the disturbance. Now, where was I? Yes. On Monday, March 16, 2026, players aged 18 and older will need to go through an age verification process to ensure they meet the minimum age requirement for our games. Some players may have already received an age verification request previously. So, in case many people do not know, some people, you open up a new game, you get all the updates, trying to download, make sure your memory space is good enough. And if you do, great, fine. If you don't, you better clear out some stuff. But at the start of it, they gave you some kind of, terms and agreements, and of course, your age. They're probably going to tell you the month and the year you're born. Some of you may give you their direct age, of course, and that is pretty much what the age verification is. Now, to comply with legal requirements, players under the age of 18 will no longer be able to access these games from Wednesday, March 18, 2026, as the respective age ratings will be temporarily raised to 18. And this is as follows: League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, League of Legends Wild Rift, 2XKO, and Legends of Runeterra. You notice there's a Riot Games title that is missing from all of this. Oh yeah! Valorant! It looks like they got away with it, I guess. Now, it said that Valorant players between the ages 12 and 17 will need parental consent to access the game. And they will continue to evaluate these games and their features under the requirements of the ECA and expect them to return to their original age ratings by early 2027. Okay. Now, what does this mean to you? What does this all mean? Now, based on your age, you can expect the following when you log into your account. If you're 18 years of age or older, you will need to verify your age as part of the mandatory age verification requirements under the ECA, which is the Brazilian Statute of Children and Adolescents, using one of the following methods: CPF number, payment card and debit or credit card, identity document or scan, and age estimation by facial scan. If you are a Valorant player under age 18 years old, which means if you are between 12 and 17 years old, you will need to provide the email address of your father, mother, or legal guardian. Jesus Christ, what is this? They will need to give their consent through Riot's parental control portal, and after that, you will have access to Valorant. And for games that have had their rating change, if you are under 18, your account will be paused and blocked from playing. Now, if, by the way, your account is blocked on or after March 18, 2026, please know that it is only paused and secured. Everything will be back when you can access it again. And our goal is to return to all our games to their original ratings by early 2027, at which point, with your parents' approval, you will regain access to the games on your account. And it said, this is about kids web services as external third-party services that uses the age verification process. Okay, so you look at all of this and just saying it's like word salad, I guess. You just don't know what it means. But then, Sheep Esports, and by the way, most importantly, Mr. David Sharnock, which, by the way, before I'm going to get this further, I want to congratulate Mr. David Sharnock for actually choosing Team Liquid as his choice. I will be rooting for you and your content, and hopefully that the Team Liquid New York thing is a real thing, and I hope you do well. Now, you have to remember, everybody, that I did the Pretty Derby Umusumi kind of meme during that segment when you lose to Lion. And I will tell you one thing. I will do that again if your team fails to go forth again. I will do that again. Now, Sheep Esports did report all of this, of course. And then David Shynock, with a response, of course, is saying, surely you get rid of the loot boxes before you kill your game in the region, no? It's not like Brazil will be the only one and only country to do this either. And there is some truth into this. The loot boxes. Now, for anybody who don't know the loot boxes, it's pretty much simple. You have some amount of, a stuff, a product. Okay, let me just explain it again. You play a game, and you got some kind of number, of course, a big number, some kind of number. And that will be the number for you to place that set amount on a gacha product. This whole system is pretty much simple. You place the amount on that thing, and you pray and roll for something special. You may get like the crappy kind of 2%, of course, all that stuff. But if you hit right, the 1%, that 1% chance is that feeling, man. It's that incredible feeling that you have. It will make your day great. And this applies to like the team fight tactics, of course, when you got like chibi skins and all kind of stuff. It applies to Wild Rift when you get like the different champions and all the abilities. And also it involves League of Legends when it involves like getting the skins and getting the champions and probably like one of those rare skins. In fact, so you remember that Pretty Derby Umasumi reference that I made? Yeah, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at a game that does the same kind of content as well. Yep, you're seeing it. Same kind of method, same kind of gadget. In fact, this game has pretty much been removed in the Netherlands, by the way, because of all the loot box and all kind of stuff. And this is not just a game alone. This is happening in FIFA and Madden and all this kind of stuff. And they are really doing the one thing that they needed to do. They're like, hey, you want this 1% champion? You gotta have to pay a lot of money for it. And they gotta pay with their credit cards, and they gotta pay with their wallets and all kind of stuff. And it's going to make the other, the developers richer as, pigs, I guess. And that pretty much induced gambling. It induces to gamble, to do all the kind of stuff, to trying to get that 1%. And it's making Riot a lot of money. It's making Riot Games a lot of money. Now, this might be coming like crazy talk of words for me, but the fact that loot boxes exist to trying to encourage people to pour their money out in order to get that 1% skin, it's pretty much like Riot's biggest idea, and it's kind of work, of course. But now with this whole thing and the removal, of course, Riot Games is pretty much have the simplest and easiest task to do, which is probably get rid of all the loot boxes, which is, hey, what David Shynock said. Great. But the answer is not as simple as it is. By killing the loot boxes, you're just killing one of the resources that Riot Games needed in order for them to create money, in order for them to do it. Because the other, of course, choices are Saudi money and gambling. And right now, we're at the point of esports. It's like you gotta need one of those two, or both, or your esports cracks down under. And I wanted to do like one more piece of thing. So I want you to meet my friend Jun Lee, who is, by the way, an independent journalist, by the way. Now where was I? Okay. This is Jun Lee, by the way. He's an independent sports journalism. He used to work for the Washington Post, for the Bleach Reporter, and of course for ESPN. If you have ever watched Around the Horn, he is one of the journalists that does one of those points gaming shows with the former host Tony Reali that has been lasted for like all of, not saying my childhood, but some of my life, of course, until the show ended last year. Now he decided to do all of his sports work and all of his news stories that covers the basis of sports fandom without any gambling ads. And for that, I am glad that he's the kind of person that I want to inspire with. He's the inspiration for all my work that I've done. So I want to thank you. But the most important thing of why did I do this is because of this video. It showed you the exposing the sport. It showed the exposing how sports started the gambling epidemic. And when I finished watching that video, by the way, this is like 20 minutes long. I do not want to go to all of that jazz. But when I finished watching this video, I had that feeling in the back of my head that feels like, wow, Akeem, this applies to League of Legends and esports as well. Because if you look at it, esports used to be this niche kind of thing. And of course, gambling sponsors were like the Black Plague, like we see in the Blackstock scandal and Pete Rose and the point shaving and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, government takes over. Supreme Court decided to take down those, sports betting walls. And all of a sudden, your ESPN bet, which by the way was a thing, your DraftKings, your FanDuel, and prediction markets like your Kolshis and your Poly markets are going to be flooded in like the masses. And they are everywhere. And the reason for this to be happening is because, media companies like ESPN and all kinds of stuff is losing a lot of money. Magazines are not doing well. So it's either gambling sponsorships or die in the sea of fishes. And, there is some stories talking about the Terry Rozier thing and the Chauncey Billups thing that involves a lot of sports gambling, of course. And people do not want to, cross over the fence, because if they do that, it will piss off a lot of people. Piss off a lot of gambling companies, and it might lose a lot of money and lose a lot of credibility. And now the sports media is going to go down the drain. Sounds familiar? Because right now in esports, we're in the same situation. We used to be niche. We used to not take the sponsorship money. And now that we lost our venture capital and all kinds of stuff, we have to take the gambling money and the Saudi money, and we cannot say anything bad about them, or else we're going to lose all of it. It's literally the same thing as the sports gambling thing. It's literally the same thing. And that is why I wanted to use this channel as a way to be free from all the gambling ads that have been surrounding all of these things, including the Golden Globes, by the way, which Polymarket actually uses. And I would be shocked if the Oscars decided to use like Kelshi as their prediction market sponsor to see who will win the Best Actor awards. Spoiler alert, it's Michael B. Jordan, by the way. Sinners is a great movie, and so do One Better Than Another, and if whoever wins, I'm fine with that. But the point remains. The point remains that I just wanted this channel to be pure and free, and then just wanted to talk about League of Legends without any kind of sponsorships holding me down. Like I listen, Party Market, Kolshi, listen, we all know what you're doing, and we all know what that stuff. And if you wanted to email me and all kinds of stuff, great. But I do not want to do it. I'm gonna do the Howie Mandel TV game show, shut down the red button and say no deal. I will be no dealing for all of you guys. You can keep doing what you're gonna do, but I'm out, man. I am 100% out. Shark Tank style, by the way. And that is why this is important, because we are at the point right now that loot boxes and the gambling sponsorships and all this kind of stuff is really going to affect the game and even esports itself, to the point of like Riot Games are in the rock and a hard place, to quote Malphite, by the way. They're in a really tough situation. Like, get rid of loot boxes is easy, but I'm not sure what's the other option here. What's the other option to not only make sure to get money revenue, but also like fund it to help the esports thing? Because right now the prize pool is gone. We don't know what will happen for like the rest of the year in terms of all these kind of stuff. And we all know that, the esports World Cup is the biggest prize pool ever. And they wanted to get the cash. So it's a really sticky situation to have. It's a really sticky situation to have. Now, you also notice that there is some political shenanigans that's going on with this. Because, of course, there is the ECA digital thing that has affected Brazil and all the games, of course. And I have to be a little bit brutally honest. And I'm going to, like, use the Shavana. By the way, I'm going to use the Shavana screen to talk about this thing. I am 28 years old. I'm going to be 29 in a couple of months. So let's just say I'm close to 30. I'm close to 30 years old. I have not even voted for any politician in my entire country. I am not even involved in politics. I mean, my dad is the only person who kind of like watches a little bit, of course, but that's pretty much, how we keep an eye on America and all kinds of stuff. And so do my mom, of course. But they're watching like Jamaican politics and all kinds of stuff because we want to know what's going on in our country, because our country is so messed up right now. So I am not into this political BS, of course, as many people said. My focus is mostly on gaming and sports and music, and that's all that it is. But I can understand where all of this is coming from, because every single thing that's going on in esports is pretty much tied to what government and all kinds of stuff. You see this with like Trump being like trying to, have different owners to try and take over Riot Games. You see what Kespa Cup is doing right now, which, by the way, Kespa is really hosting events for 2027 to see who will host Worlds, which, by the way, Kespa is like one step ahead of everybody else. Just saying. But the point is that like every single thing is just tied to the government and all the political stuff. And with the thing that's happening in Brazil right now, with the whole age verification and all kinds of stuff, it really puts a damper on like how people are going to play the game. And it's not just Brazil alone, guys. China has already done it, and maybe Korea could be next, maybe APAC, maybe NA. It could happen in NA, guys. And if that happens in North America, what will happen to like the North American esports scene? Because right now, the North American esports scene doesn't have high schoolers playing the game. It doesn't have anything to go by. And then, of course, the same thing with Europe. Same thing with like, the Middle Eastern, of course, countries. What will happen to them? And right now, we're in a precarious situation right now in the time of esports, which we have to rely on Saudi Arabia and gambling money, or we're cooked. And with all this chaos going on and all these things, I wanted to make sure that this channel, while I'm speaking about all these things, and I will speak about it, all these things, because I'm a guy who wants to be on the fence of all these things. I am not perfect, not even close, but I will make sure that I will keep my pulse on all these things going forward to know what's going on in the Rift and out of the Rift. I am not like David Shiner that do like 3 shorts per day, and of course, I'm going to be like one of those. You wait and monitor and get the decent information. Not the right information sometimes. I may be slip up in some cases, but get the most decent information. What do you know? When you know, those kind of stuff. I'm going to get you things that people know right now so that many people will go home and just think about it. I just want my videos to be something you want to think about and to talk about and to do all that stuff. So yes, this whole situation with Brazil, even though it's like a smaller minor change, of course, it's gonna have a ripple effect throughout all of esports. And by the way, this is taking place in Brazil. Like, what 3 days until like the biggest event in Brazil for League of Legends that's taking place. And right now, we're probably not gonna see like young 16, 17-year-old prodigies playing the game. We're gonna have to wait until 18. And how will this affect the league, by the way, in the CBLOL, by the way? Will that affect like, young Brazilian players up and coming talent coming in and saying, sorry, you got to be 18 and older to play our league, and it's like that's gonna hurt them. It's going to hurt them a much. So I'm just saying that this situation with Brazil right now is gonna have a ripple effect, not only throughout you know this region in Brazil, but also in the CB space, in like the growth of the region, but also is going to affect the wider broad scale with like what's going on in Brazil and everything, and with gambling sponsorships being taken over and all kinds of stuff, and the effectiveness it have on little children. It's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be really, really hard. So I'm sorry I gone on a tangent. It's been like what 25 minutes since I've done this. I haven't gone to the meat of the video, but I wanted to make sure that I would get my voice across because these situations are bigger than the game itself. It's bigger than any esports itself. It's gonna affect lives of several players and children and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, thank you for my TED talk. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the reason for this video existence. We all done all the things we need to say about predictions and the rankings and all the kind of stuff. But now it is time for us to predict who will win First Stand 2026. I know I said that all in the first minute, but now we're here. We're here. And before we're going to get to here, I've already made my pledge, ladies and gentlemen. I've already made my pledge. And I specified that some of these segments may involve the use of said sponsors, but I will not be sponsored by any company ever. Now, I did say that. I did say that in my pledge. Which, by the way, if you have noticed, we got the poly market odds or the percentages on the market of who can win first stand as of 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is, by the way, we are closer to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the New York coast, or pretty much like you could say 4 p.m. West Coast, but anywhere, of course, in the world. This is taking place at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the time you're watching this. And by poly market standards, by the way, Genji are the overwhelming favorite at 66%, which is no surprise, of course. The best team in the world, most dominant. What really crossed me is that BLG is an 18% favorite, which I said, no. No. BLG are not 18%, guys. They're close to like a 30, 40%, of course, favorite. I mean, BLG is like the second best team in the world beside Genji. It could give Genji the run of his money. But so I can say that BLG deserved like a 30, 35%, I guess, buff, I guess. So that's just not it. Fearx 8%, JDG 4%, G2 2%, Lion T Tuka Wells and Loud are 1%. Now, you're gonna now keep your eyes on these because these things might change. Well, how do I say this? I am going to, watch all the games. And after the group stage formats of the tournament, we're into the semifinals, these odds might change. So after all the group stage games are finished, and by the way, I'm not gonna do like one of those daily things which are gonna update on the odds. Like, oh my god, Genji lost. How will this affect the odds? I'm not gonna be that. I'm not gonna do that. If you wanted to do that, please, please, please gamble responsibly. And just make sure you have what you lose. Okay? We do not want this to affect your wives, your husbands, your children's lives. We do not want that. I am not doing this to hurt you guys. I'm doing this for the benefit of statistical purposes, of acknowledgement and all kind of stuff. And that's just the way it is. Okay, so I have no money in all of this, just to say that. Okay, with that being said, we are now going into the predictions, ladies and gentlemen. And I decided to label this prediction based on GSL, or in case many people do not watch StarCraft, GSL. So that's basically it. This is the format based on that game and based on the tournament that is run by Korean, StarCraft for years. Of course, it's still on the longest running tournaments ever. Actually, they now do an RSL, which is, by the way, the same, of course, format as GSL. So I decided to put it as opening, winners, losers, and deciders, which is it's basically the same, format as this tournament. So I will get you every single scoreline and every single winner from this tournament. If I get the team right, I will get 1 point. If I get the team right and the score right, I will get 2 points. And I will tally up all the points and see what I did. And I believe the maximum I get is probably like 40 or 50. We'll see how it goes, of course. So, we're going to kick off with BLG versus Fearx, and I think this is not going to be close. I think BLG, the more experienced team, is just too strong for Fearx right now. I can understand that this is a Diablo is trying to do everything, but unfortunately, this team is going to be way too inexperienced. I would say that I will give G2 the 3-0 win over Team Secret Wells. And yes, I know G2 have not been great late game, but if G2 can stomp them early and just stop, the whole Team Secret Wells dynamic, I think it'll be good. So I have G2 winning 3-0. Let me just look at the Fearx versus Team Secret Wells, of course. There you go. And as for the winners, by the way, I have BLG winning 3-1 over G2. Now, you know what? Let's just make it honest. Let's just go for a crazy 3-2 series. I go BLG 3-2 over G2. The team that G2 beat is not the same BLG as last year. I think this is a much more composed BLG team. That's the last time they faced off against Worlds. I think if they shut down Caps, they can shut down the whole team. I don't think Hans Summit can do anything. I don't know if the bot lane of G2 can handle the bot lane of BLG. So I'll go with BLG 3-2. As for the losers matchup, I will go Fearx with a 3-0 sweep of Team Secret Wells, so Team Secret Wells are out. That leaves us with the decider of G2 versus Fearx, and I will go with a simple, comfortable G2 3-1 win over Fearx, which means G2 and BLG will be my semifinalists from Group A. From Group B, Gen G is going to murder JDG. And then I will say Lion 3-1 over Loud to just give the LCS some hope. I believe that the LCS need, and I mean need, a pick-me-up after what happened in, America's Cup and all that stuff. So that leaves us the winner's game between Gen G Lion and JDG Loud, in which I can say Gen G is going to easily sweep Lion 3-0, and JDG is going to easily sweep Loud 3-0. And I think for the decider, that means it's Lion versus JDG. I heard some analysts said that if JDG got if JDG got jungler gets shut down, Junjay, by the way, if JDG's jungler gets shut down, the whole team crumbles. Because as great as Gala and all this kind of stuff, they said that I don't think JDG are the good team to carry, of course. So the question is, do I believe myself that Lion could win? With Inspired, with Dokla, I think that's possible. And also, you have to factor in that it's been 7 years since LCS team has ever beaten an LPL or LCK team. And I know this is not MSI, not first stand, but this is an international tournament. And I believe right now that Lion Gaming is going to do it. I will give Lion Gaming the 3-2 win over JDG and move on to the semifinals. So based on all of this, that means BLG will take on Lion, and Gen G will take on G2. If I get it right. Yes, I think these are cross. I will give BLG the 3-0 against Lion. Congratulations, thanks for coming. And I will give them Gen G a 3-1 win, which means we get the 9th versus trophy matchup between Gen G and BLG. I mean, viewership will be great, but unfortunately for some of the Brazilian fans, they probably get left and not even caring. And I will give Gen G the 3-0 sweep and Gen G as your first stand champions. So there you go. That's all the score lines and all predictions for all of this. So it'll be fun. This tournament is going to be fun. The fact we have best of fives in every single tournament, and by the way, for the entire week from Monday to Sunday, is going to be a blast. It's kind of like watching LPL in like international form. It's going to be fun. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching this whole thing. Me ranting about, you know, you know, loot boxes and age verification. I hope you stick around for all this kind of stuff. If you like the channel, please like and comment and subscribe to make sure this entire channel is ad-free of sponsorships and gambling and all kinds of stuff, and to keep it pure and to keep it fresh, like myself. So anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great Sunday, Oscars night and selection Sunday for some college people. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy First Stand, everybody.